Authors, please don't do this.
Recently, I found this blog post of a woman whose blog post is titled Authors, Please Don't Do This. She's talking about working at a bookshop and some things that some authors have done that she really did not like. But I also was looking at the responses to this particular blog post, and there's one in particular that this was like the reason I wanted to show him this, but then I figured, oh, you guys will probably want to see this too.
Bloomley, Elizabeth Bloomley.
We already know that some authors are going to face out their own books or ask their friends and family to do this in our stores. This can be a minor inconvenience for us since it may be messing up a themed display or your face out may be replacing a book we are trying to feature for a special time-sensitive reason. Indie bookstore staff do pretty much always know which books we've chosen to face out, but sometimes we smile and let yours stand if we love the book you've turned outward. This is a mildly risky move because if you do mess up a bookstore display and someone on staff notices, they may be irked, and you don't want to irk booksellers. You want to endear them to you. I've worked retail and technically grocery store. You guys have setups. If somebody just comes in and is like, I don't like this brand of paper towels, let me set up this brand of paper towels. Or maybe they hide the ones they like or something, which is really relevant right now, actually.
That's very true.
I wouldn't ever have the audacity to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, I don't know if that actually
Sorry.
helps that much. I mean, when I'm thinking of my own bookstore consumerism, I don't think I'm particularly, like, if I see the front of a book, I don't know if I'm more drawn to it.
A much better approach is to walk up to the counter, introduce yourself, saying something like, hi, I'm charming author, insert your own name there, and I see that you have my book. Thanks so much for carrying it. I'd be happy to sign any copies if you'd like. We at the Flying Pig, that's a great name,
That's a good name.
almost always say yes, though I'll caution you that this is not universal. Some stores may say no because stock levels need to be controlled and bookstores are not supposed to return unsold copies that are autographed. So if that happens, try not to feel bad. They are just being uber practical, hardcore stock warriors. The strategy then would be to create a nice relationship with them so they remember you and will give your books a second look. You can do this by chatting about some of the new books you've loved. There's almost nothing as bonding as shared book enthusiasm. Amen. And if you actually buy something at the store, you've made the first move in a good faith contract of mutual support.
Makes sense.
I remember, and this is through the grapevine, but I used to work with a girl who had worked at a bookstore. This girl remembered Stephanie Meyer coming in before Twilight was huge, because Stephanie Meyer lived in Arizona, and she would come in, and apparently she would do this very thing. She would move stuff around and put her books like out and on display or something. Don't take that as absolute truth, but that's what I heard.
And now she's a bestseller, so it would seem
What we're
it
hearing
works.
is-
So I guess I was wrong earlier.
Authors, please do this
Please
if you
turn
want to
the
be
books out.
successful.
Interesting.
As tempting as it may be, please do not call bookstores and ask for your own books pretending to be someone else. For one thing, we have caller ID. For another, there's just something obvious about these phone calls. They don't sound the same as regular inquiries. You know how your voice transmutes into false, stilted tightness when you have to answer an automated voice system on the phone instead of talking to a human being? Suddenly, you can't even say your own name or the word question or the number 2 normally. Well, it's similar with these faux phone calls about your book. The difference is palpable, and it leaves both you and the clerk uncomfortable. Please don't come into the bookstore and do that same thing. We have Google, and you have a website. We can see what you look like. That's hilarious.
It's a valid point.
Even worse, please don't have friends or family call the store pretending to be interested in buying your book so that we will order copies. If you aren't planning to send real business our way, it is rude to try to trick us into carrying a book that will not have your support.
Yes, I didn't realize people did this.
Recently, we encountered a new low-point attempt at guerrilla marketing. Our staffer, David, pointed to a couple of books and said, "What's the story on these?" I looked at them, 2 different titles in paperback, and shook my head. "I don't recognize them," I said. He said, "I think this lady left them in the store." He told me that he had been helping another customer up front in the store on a busy sale day over the weekend, and he'd seen a woman bend down in front of the NPR Book Picks end cap. This is the first bookcase most customers notice when they come into the store and turn right. It's prominent. David said the woman had given him kind of a funny look, and he'd seen her doing something on the bottom shelf, but he was busy helping someone else, so he didn't have a chance to check in with her before she ducked quickly out of the store. I asked David, "You think she left these books here hoping we'd sell them?" He said, "I think so. These and the other copies." Other copies? I went up front and there were more books on the bottom shelf. The person had left 6 copies of books we hadn't ordered, displayed them as though they were NPR picks. This takes a lot of gall and is definitely not the done thing.
I have a couple thoughts on this one. So, one, I don't think those books would ring up for them. Because if I picked one up and was like, I want this, and then they tried to scan it, it's not going to work, so they're not going to sell it to you. So it's not going to work in general. But 2, it'd be like if someone brought their own avocados and left them in the produce department.
Exactly. At a profit.
Yeah, how is she just trying to get like people to see it? Maybe that's more it. Maybe she's trying to
I think so.
Wow,
They
it's
associate
an NPR book. That's probably more it.
Yeah.
Still, it's just
isn't it gonna look really bad when the person, let's say somebody does see the book and they're thinking, wow, okay,
and then
they go to ring it up and the person at the front's like, yeah, we didn't put this here, somebody just came in and dropped it off. I would then be like, oh. Anyway, there is more. It says David had Googled the author and said she was not the same person who left the books, nor does she live in Vermont. Perhaps it was a family member or friend. We can't figure out the aim of this move. Would someone be calling in a few weeks to see if the books had sold and want payment? Our staffer, Laura, had a kind thought. Maybe she asked a friend to drop off some books for consignment, and her friend didn't know what that meant. This is a generous idea, but I have to wonder what friend doesn't ask the bookstore staff and instead decides to plop the books on a shelf face out and run. It has me wondering, is there some lecturer out there advising authors to do these things to get their books noticed? Because I have to say that at indie bookstores at least, your best bet is not trickery or gimmicks, but is still the simplest, if not the easiest one, to strike up a real conversation with the bookseller. Let me go through. There was a specific one. This one, an industrious author.
Oh boy.
I
like it already.
All right, let's get to it. I was surprised by the tone of... I'm sorry. You guys sometimes get mad at me by the way in which I change my tone when I read stuff.
Read it in a normal voice.
Okay. I was surprised by the tone of this article. I always thought that bookstores and authors were in... I'm sorry, it's so hard not to vibe as I'm reading it. I always thought that bookstores and authors were in partnership. This was very us versus them, or the misunderstood booksellers who must deal with the unwashed masses of social clawed mid-list authors.
I mean, I like how she put that.
I have spent a significant amount of time on book tour visiting stores, especially independent bookstores. I take time to chat with booksellers and offer to sign books. I always ask if it's okay and let them get the exact books that they want me to sign, whether it's 1 copy or 10. All in all, I've signed about 1,400 copies of my book in 200 plus visits to stores in 18 states in the past 7 years.
So I do have some thoughts on this. What I don't understand is
she's not the target.
She's doing the thing they want. They said, hey, talk to us. Let us know. Ask if you can. She's doing all the things they requested. She's getting a little showboaty here with her 18 states in the past 7 years. But, otherwise...
She's not who they're talking about?
Yeah, otherwise,
Yeah. Anyway.
Read the article.
But if I put signed books back in section, which I always offer, I face them out. Always. Why? So now she's not.
Yeah, now she's not.
Now she's not. Now she's like, I do everything else you said to do except for this thing.
And
let me explain why I don't do this one thing. My books are signed by the author now, and according to most sources, they should sell better than unsigned titles. I carry stickers just in case the store doesn't have any, so this fact is always visible on the front cover. But if they go back on the shelf spine out, no one can tell they are signed. It's as if I never stopped in. Sorry, I'm putting in this snobbery.
So keeping your own stickers that say signed by the author, that's getting a little weird for me. I think.
You think so?
Yeah, kind of a strange thing to do. I would once again ask if the store has them. Well, I guess that's fair too. But I would imagine like each store has like their own like emblem or like maybe a personalized version. So like you got it. I don't know. I just think it's kind of weird.
Look at it from my perspective. She starts by saying, this is very us versus them. And then she's like, look at it from what I have to say. Look at it from my perspective. I've taken the time and energy to seek out your store, sign books, and get to know more about your business, often in the midst of a very hectic schedule. I bring gifts for the booksellers, often food, since that's my genre. I promote my stops via social media. Often I end up selling books, either mine or other authors' titles, while I'm store because I'm outgoing and not shy about talking with customers. That's another thing. Sometimes you guys are like, you emphasize the typos. I'm like, no, I'm reading out loud what it says, and I have to stop for a second.
You should correct it as you go.
But to then just put my book/books back in section, spine out, while facing out a copy or two of another author's books right next to it, well, this feels unjust. It communicates that an author's time and effort doesn't warrant any value in your store. I would never take my books out of section and put them on what's obviously a co-op table. But I do know that some friends and relatives have done this. And when I tell them not to do that, it's hard to stop the well-meaning. The industry is a bit murky to navigate, and I'd like to see bookstore owners be a part of education for authors, like the original blog post, wrote, yeah. Especially as more ditch conventional publishing to head into DIY. Is that what we're calling self-published? I think there's a lot of money to be made with self-published authors, especially genre series. On both sides, this example may sound a little crazy, but it shows how hard some authors find navigating the publishing world.
Friends and family, stop doing that. It's not that hard to make them. They just mean so well, though.
They mean well, even though it can hurt
It's really annoying, though. Unless you have permission to turn the book out,
don't touch it.
Don't do it. Just put it back. Even if you have your little sticker. Because the thing is, I don't know. If they pull it out and see that, like, oh, wow, what are the odds? I grabbed a signed copy. Yeah, maybe it'll be like a little surprise in there. Maybe they'll be more inclined to buy it.
So I'm not going to buy a book I'm not interested in because it's signed.
Yeah, I'm not so big on signatures that.
Right. So she's like, I put in all this time to be really nice to you.
Yeah, she's graced them with her presence, apparently.
I just don't
using social media, she's promoting.
It's not very authentic. I feel like what she's missing in the original part is come in, be a person, be nice, talk to us, get to know us, and then we'll probably like you more. But when it's very obvious when somebody is only talking to you and associating with you because they want something in return, that I feel is always...
I also just feel like she seems like she thinks very highly of herself. Just the whole, I promote my stops via social media. Like she's bringing so much business to these little indie bookstores.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, I'm pretty sure they're probably doing okay.
They're doing okay.
Yeah.
Now, maybe in the grand scheme of people buying books, perhaps the bookstores, maybe they're not doing as well with digital things. That sort of, the prevalence of audiobooks and Kindle and stuff, maybe physical.
Or just ordering online.
Ordering online, exactly. In that regard. But this person, I don't know.
I don't think she's gonna help a whole lot.
I mean, I just find so much of what she says to be very entitled.
Oh, and look, is this the response from the original person?
No.
Or someone else?
It's someone else. The original person's actually super nice when they respond, but another person, yeah, you're right. A practical bookseller is another person and says, and yet your comment is I'm doing you a favor by coming by a bookstore.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's no, you're not doing it.
Don't start messing stuff around. I like how this lady, too, she's like, first off, I don't do some of the things you find annoying, which therefore justifies the thing I do happen to do that is annoying.
So what also, the other thing is, too, being educate authors. Do you really need to be told that? Come on. You really need someone to, okay, if I were an author and I did that, I would know that I'm it's a little shady. And if then someone was like, hey, don't do that, I wouldn't be like, thanks for educating me. I had no idea you didn't that.
I'm sorry. It's also not the bookseller's job to educate anybody.
No.
Just go ask. This idea of you educate me, and then when you do educate me and you give me an answer I don't like, let me tell you why I feel like you're against me.
But also, I almost feel like if you're just leaving books somewhere, it gives off the vibe that you're not proud of your work.
I also think it gives off the vibe that you're not doing so well.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're really confident, then you are going to go up to a person and talk and try to sell your book. But if you're
they probably won't take my book, so I should just
leave it here. Yeah,
I'll ask my friend to drop it off.
Yeah, that doesn't exude confidence in your product. So I don't know.
If you're a bookseller, tell us your thoughts. If you're an author, tell us your thoughts. If you're the industrious author. Tell us your thoughts. If you're
Hilarious.
Mrs. Bloomley, Elizabeth Bloomley, thanks for your
post.
information.
Yes.
I felt it was educational. So thanks for taking the time.
Bye.
Bye.